and welcome back to Retro Raven Game. How is everybody doing tonight? Alright, so today we are going to be playing a short narrative adventure called Dagon, inspired by H.P. Lovecraft, and for everything that I've seen about this is just mind-blowing. This is the first time I'm playing, and I'm super excited to actually dive right in and check this out. Alright. Let's make sure everything's good. Alright. Let's begin. Dagon is a faithful, interactive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work, focused on story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choices, action sequences, or inventory management here, and movement is limited to progressing through locations along with the plot. Okay.
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
Right, so... Oh, maybe I should turn off the motion blur. During the game, you will encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey. Others will reveal interesting facts about the original short story, its historical background, and author. So, like a little circle here. Clue, the Elder Sign. Some of the trivia is hidden. In order to find these secrets, focus your eyes and look for the Elder Sign. So, okay, so it looks like a controller or like a right click. Oh, let me turn off motion blur. Resume. Alright. Oh, that's much better. Alright, so let's start with this. Alright. Okay, so I can use that. Let's switch to controller. Nope. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, so I'm turning with my right joystick.
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below.
Starting off dark.
Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate.
Alright. Oh.
When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Alright. So like a bottle. Alright. Ooh, an Elder Sign. Morphine entered into use in the 19th century and they're routinely administered to treat severe pain during American Civil War, 1861 to 1865. In the World War I, 1914 and 1918, it was also sold without restrictions until 1914. Morphine became more popular after the invention of the hypodermic syringe around 1854. Frederick Serturner, who first isolated the substance, originally named it morphium after Morpheus, the Greek god associated with dreams. At the time when Dagon was published, morphine abuse, known as soldier's disease, already posed a big problem in the United States. You can read the discovered trivia immediately or go back to them later in the main menu. Turn off displaying trivia if you find that this feature distracts you from the story. So that's a pretty cool option. This can be changed anytime in the options. So I'm gonna stick with that because I think it's really interesting. What do we have here? So
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
Alright. Oh, I was supposed to look around first. Alright. Okay, interesting.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun
Beautiful.
had not completely sunk to their later degradation. So that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
Okay. Alright, looks like something up there. Alright, let's check this out. So I can focus on that. The Huns were Central Asian nomads who established a dominion in Europe and invaded the Roman Empire in the 5th century AD. They were known as brutal, deadly warriors and master of quick raids who also developed powerful composite bows, lassos, and early siege weapons. During the World War I, the British used the word Hun as a synonym for Germans in order to emphasize their brutality. However, the term originated when the German Emperor Wilhelm II gave a speech to troops on 27th July 1900 before they embarked to China. Should you encounter the enemy, he will be defeated. No quarter will be given, prisoners will not be taken, whoever falls into your hands is forfeited, just as 1,000 years ago the Huns under their king Attila made a name for themselves, one that even today makes them seem mighty in history and legend. May the name of German be affirmed by you in such a way in China that no Chinese will ever again dare to look cross-eyed at a German. The refusal to take prisoners was a clear breach of the laws and customs of war adopted during the First Hague Convention of 1899. All right, that's interesting. All right, let's. Right. I think I'm actually going to switch to the.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone in a small boat with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Okay, so I can't. Okay, so it's pretty limited. There's not much else to look at.
When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings.
Look at that. Oh, look at that. That's cool. God, that's beautiful.
Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator.
Gorgeous.
Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
My friend, you are fucked. Oh, looks like I can, by like the moon. Is there anything for me to look at? I don't think so. Alright, moon it is.
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
Anything? Oh, I can look up. Okay. Oh, jeez, that's like the sun. Oh. What the hell was that? Oh! Alright, so I guess that's my water. Oh, it's like, maybe seagulls.
But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue.
Oh, I can't even lay down anymore. You're just sort of looking up.
The change happened whilst I slept. Its details I shall never know,
Excuse me?
for my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
Holy. That is horrifying. That is a lot of tentacles.
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see.
That's horrible.
And in which my boat lay grounded some distance away.
Oh. So, like, I'm not even in the boat anymore.
Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished.
Yeah, right there with you.
For there was in the air and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core.
Also, the voice acting on this is stellar.
The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish and of other less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain.
Describable. Man. Look at that. Whoa. I don't even know where I'm supposed to be looking at right now. Oh.
Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity. There was nothing within hearing and nothing in sight save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear.
Yeah.
The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
I am... Oh, look at that guy. So no stars. Alright, so looking at the boat. Oh, the squelch.
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position. Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths. So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might.
Oh man, I'm just looking at all that.
Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
What is that? Okay, so there's that. I'm curious about what that is. So all my stuff laying there. Oh, the eating. Oh, and there's not even anything.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens.
Oh, there's the lantern.
As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time.
Oh my God.
That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue.
It's fantastic. That right there is like gorgeous, absolutely like screensaver worthy.
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease.
That is a big guy.
The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
Alright, so I can go forward. I don't see anything else like with an elder sign. This squelch gonna get me.
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
Right, so he's going for, like, higher ground. That's smart. What the hell is that? I don't even know. That's not horrifying whatsoever.
That night, I encamped, and on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
Uh,
By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which
okay,
turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance.
that explains a lot.
An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill.
That doesn't sound like a good idea.
I know not why my dreams were so wild that night. But ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more.
Okay.
Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again. And in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day. Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy.
So dark. But I guess that's kind of the point.
Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
I'm like holding my breath here.
I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon, whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine.
Okay.
I felt myself on the edge of the world,
Can't even look down yet.
peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night. Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost, and of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined.
Okay. There's a lot of stars. Like, my guess is you're not in Kansas anymore, my guy.
Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent, whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
Do you really want to? Seems like such a bad idea.
Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath, gazing into the Stygian deeps where no light had yet penetrated. All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me.
Okay.
An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon.
I mean, that looks... Well, let me see if there's anything else Elder Sign-esque. Nope. It's like some
That
sort
it was
of
merely
pillar?
a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself. but I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature.
Like that texture, I just want to reach out and touch it, but in anything Lovecraft, touching is just nah, you better not.
A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express.
Okay.
For despite its enormous magnitude and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith, whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures. Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely.
Alright, so there's that. Like at the base. I don't see anything else.
The moon, now near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm, and revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the cyclopean monolith.
Oh, you can see something on it now.
On whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures. The writing was in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books, consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like. Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world, but whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain.
Yeah, the things that I saw when I initially
It was the
woke up.
pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
Oh, okay. Elder Sign. Dagon contains many themes and storytelling methods that Lovecraft developed in his later works, such as telling story through carvings and at the Mountains of Madness, the Nameless City, journals and characters' notes, the Shadows Out of Time and the Haunter of the Dark, islands emerging from the ocean, the Call of Cthulhu, or fictional beings and deities based on real events and mythologies, Migo and the Whisperer of Darkness, for example. It also considered the origin of the popular Cthulhu mythos. Some of Lovecraft's other stories also include in a manner similar to Dagon, but let's skip the details in order to not spoil the ending. Alright, so let's check this out.
Plainly visible across the intervening water on account of their enormous size were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a doré. I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men, though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto, or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well.
You mean the thing that I'm at right now?
Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint. Grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer.
It's a Bulwer.
They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips, glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall. Curiously enough, they seemed to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background. For one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself.
Excuse me?
I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size, but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe. Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born. Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist, I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then, suddenly, I saw it.
What did you see?
With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface,
Holy.
the thing slid into view above the dark waters. Polyphemus-like and loathsome, it darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the monolith. About which it flung its gigantic scaly arms, the while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds.
You.
Of my frantic ascent of the sloping cliff and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little.
Get me the hell out of there.
I believe I sang a great deal and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing.
Is that thing it's moving? No, everything's just like doing a weird wave. Is this even Earth anymore?
I have indistinct recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat. At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods. When I came out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital.
How did I get here?
Brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention.
Okay.
Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing. Nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
Oh, what do we have here? Lovecraft was a prominent figure in the world of amateur journalism in 1915. He started publishing his own journal called The Conservative, which included political and social commentary, poetry, and short stories and literary criticism written by him and other authors. Howard was a skilled wordsmith, but he also took criticism to heart, which resulted in his decision to step away from writing poetry and concentrate on weird fiction again. For the first time since his teenage years, Dagon, published in 1919, is one of the short stories written during that period. In this excerpt from The Conservative, the master of horror fiction explains his attitude toward warfare and the idea of world peace. Why any sane being can believe in the possibility of universal peace is more than the conservative can fathom. Should the entire civilized world agree simultaneously to disarm, one or more nations would undoubtedly retain secret armaments and at the proper time take advantage of their more altruistic and less astute contemporaries in a wild career of conquest against unarmed victims. No country is or ever can be above warfare until the basic impulses of the human animal shall have miraculously changed. That's... I honestly cannot find any fault in that. Alright.
Once I sought out a celebrated ethnologist and amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
Elder sign. Dagon, or Dagon, was the main deity of the Philistines worshipped throughout the Middle East as the ancient god of fertility and crops. In Hebrew, the word Dagon was a common noun for grain. The rulers of Akkad, Mesopotamia, chose him as a patron saint of their war conquests. He also appeared as the judge of the dead in an Assyrian poem and an underworld prison warder in one of the Babylonian texts. He is often mistakenly taken for a fish god due to the wrong interpretation of his name, as in Hebrew the word dag means fish. In H.P. Lovecraft's work, Dagon is an underwater deity ruling over the deep ones, a humanoid race with fish traits that resides in the oceans. He is worshipped by a secret cult called the Esoteric Order of Dagon. Nice. Was there anything else? That clock's not even working. Ah.
But soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
Any of the books? Ooh, there's like an elder sign right here. August Derleth was an American writer and anthologist. He also befriended Lovecraft and published many of his works through his company, Arkham House. Although he greatly contributed to the popularization of the author's works after his death, he is surrounded by numerous controversies. One of his most questionable decisions involved introducing the good versus evil doctrine. Derleth was a devout Catholic, to the Cthulhu mythos, which contrasted with Lovecraft's views of the world and his approach to cosmic horror. As a result, the author's works are often misunderstood and misrepresented in today's culture. It is also worth noting that the Lovecraft was never really interested in creating a mythology, and the term Cthulhu mythos was coined by Derleth after the author left the mortal plane. Looks like there's... Ooh, the marketer. Lovecraft's attempt to find a job in 1925 were influenced by advice he received from friends. Among others, he started freelancing for a marketing magazine where he would write just the announcements and commercials. Feel free to judge his copywriting skills for yourself. Hence this little thing right here. I'm not gonna give you a second to read it, and then you can judge it. Feel free to let me know your ideas in the comments. All right, where am I going from here? Oh, over to the clock. So seat. So I have a little bit more free room. Let's see. It's almost 2 o'clock. A little box. Interesting. I feel like something's gonna happen here. Am I missing something? Oh, the scientist. The word scientist is a widely accepted term, but at the time Dagon was published, it was subject to a wide debate. After the author used it in a story, critics pointed out that man of science was a more appropriate term to employ. He admitted in defense of Dagon that if Dagon were to be reprinted, he would indeed use the phrase they suggested. Scientist was coined as an analog to artist to be used when referring to those studying different branches of science. Yet, in the 19th and early 20th century, scientific researchers in Great Britain and the United States were of opinion that man of science, resembling the term man of letters, was the only proper choice. Among other things, it was gender specific, indicating that the science was an endeavor to be pursued only by one sex, so product of the times. The term scientist became more accepted only after the World War II, and man of science started fading into obscurity as an old-fashioned synonym. I don't know how I actually figured out to touch that. Just kind of messing around. Oh, okay. So now it wants me to go over here.
It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing.
Are those? That's a strange pattern.
I tried morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men.
Oh, are you gonna make me do that? Oh, what do we have here? Tobacco and alcohol. Lovecraft hated tobacco, even though he used to smoke when he was 12 in order to look and feel like an adult. In his correspondences with friend Reinhard Kleiner, he claims that he quit as soon as he started wearing long pants. He also had a very strong opinion about alcohol, as evidenced by his letter to Zelia Brown, dated 13th February 1928. As for the matter of drinking, I have never tasted intoxicating liquor, and never intend to, having a strong aesthetic disgust at anything which blunts or courses the delicate natural equipoise of the evolved human intellect and imagination. Drinking excited my personal repugnance, hence I don't drink. Let the herd do what they will, I am rather in favor of prohibition. The prohibition of any one antisocial force as well as any other, as of any other. Interesting. I did not know about that. And yet...
Often, I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm.
Certainly.
A mere freak of fever as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat after my escape from the German man of war. This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind. Of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
That is a horrifying scene. The mere thought of that happening.
The end is near.
What is with the squelch, my guy?
I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it.
I don't wanna...
It shall not find me. God, that hand! The window! The window!
That really just happened. Oh my. That is legitimately terrifying and amazing and informative all at the same time. Guys, you don't even know what it's like. Headphones on and everything. Can you imagine? Oh man. I think this also has a VR version. I may have to try that out just to see what it's like. But this is amazing. The voice acting, just visually, I love this. Absolutely, go check it out. It is free on Steam. It's called Dagon. Absolutely check it out. My God. We hope you enjoyed Immerse yourself a little bit in a little pool of cosmic horror. Would appreciate if you took the moment to rate. I will absolutely 100 be adding a review to this, and I think you guys should too, as well as checking out any of their other stuff. Let me see who this is by, just to double check. So there's a couple like other DLCs and things like that. Pool of Madness. Dr. Emerson's Nocturnes. Who's this by? Developer is BitGolem, and the publisher and franchise, all of it. So check out BitGolem for their amazing stuff. You will not be disappointed. My mind is legitimately blown, and I will be putting a review. You guys go check them out, and thank you for watching. Hope you had a good time. See you next time.